Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats. We are part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Jake, and I'm joined in the virtual studio by the one and only Mr. Johnny Larkin. How are you, Johnny?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty bloody good after an exciting weekend. First round of football.
Have you recovered? It was a big Saturday.
It was a massive Saturday. Sunday, work was not the greatest working day after 3 hours of sleep. But I tell you what, it was worth it. Definitely worth it.
We've been reduced to just basically a bunch of savages on the podcast. It was a massive effort on Saturday. Sambo and I were up at 9 a.m. We're up early. That we hit the train in Benalla at 9 a.m. 3 hours down to John's game. Rendezvous with Johnny. Headed home. Yep. We all got into bed somewhere around 3:30 a.m. So it was a big day. And John Doe had come from work and then was off to work on Sunday morning. So big efforts all around there.
Big efforts. What's your excuse for not going to a football game then, you listeners, if you didn't go?
Exactly. Don't let anything stop you from achieving your dreams. No, great weekend, and we just need to get into it though, because we're on limited time. Today has just been all over the place. For everyone I know, it's been an all over the place kind of day. Sambo not with us, had a work training that dragged on and on and on. So we are just jumping in too, man. I'm hoping maybe I'll circle back with Sam during the week and get his thoughts, because he went to the trouble of rewatching the game as well earlier today to really dive into the analysis. So anyway, Johnny and I are going to take you through our first take on this match, and what a game it was, Johnny. What a game it was. Under the shadow of the new Selwood stand, which was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. It was fantastic. An awesome atmosphere, and we can get into all that. But first off, it was the game, and it started in strange fashion. The Cats probably having the better of it. They sort of peppered their end of the field, which was down towards the Selwood stand. They won the toss, elected to kick down towards the Selwood stand, but just couldn't make it pay off. Multiple players had multiple chances, and then St Kilda slingshot on the counter-attack straight back the other way. They get the opening goal of the game, and that sort of told a bit of the story of the night. Geelong probably the more dominant team overall. They led for the majority of the night, but St Kilda had this ability to just muddy the game up, particularly in their defensive half of the ground, turn the ball over, and then they were doing a great job just going fast, getting in behind Geelong's defenders, taking Geelong's intercepting game out of it, and just hitting the Cats on the counter. Despite that, Cats built a good halftime lead. They were up 6-7, 43 to 4-6-30 at the halftime break. But the Saints had their chances to take a three-quarter time lead. The Cats woefully inactive in the third term. They kicked 6 behinds. The Saints 1-3. But Geelong, after the Saints kicked the first goal of the final quarter, the Cats kicked away. They kicked 3 goals in a row. I yelled out at the top of my lungs, Johnny, start your cars, to tell their supporters, get on the highway. You're not getting 4 points. Well, then about 60 seconds later, I was done, because they booted the next 2 goals in about 3 minutes, and it closed. But Geelong, as they have done so often the last 15 plus years, when they really needed something, they dug deep. They found it. They found a clearance out of the middle. They found some quick hands on the edge of 50 to keep the play alive. Sean Manor thought he'd kick the winning goal, but it got smothered with a great effort by the St Kilda defender to leap into the air and smother the ball away. but the relieving kick out of defence only went so far as Paddy Dangerfield, who went back and slotted it from 85 metres out. The stuff of folklore. And
Yeah,
the crowd went insane. Geelong won the
like,
resulting centre
went
clearance
insane.
and controlled the game, and that was all she wrote, Johnny. What were your initial thoughts, takeaways, feelings, observations about a gutsy win? The Cats triumphing 10-16, 76 to 9-14, 68.
Uh, it was a fun game and also pretty frustrating at times as well, especially since Cats could have nearly had this one and done by halftime if their kicking was a bit more accurate.
Mm,
But apart from that, it was a pretty solid performance first out without Cam Guthrie in the side, with a lot of new young fresh faces in the team as well. They all really stood up really well. But yeah, overall, a lot of frustration mixed in a lot of elevation and happiness. But yeah, I think as a round one game after being beaten by the Saints by 38 points the last time we met, coming away with with the 4 points by an 8 point victory, it's pretty good. Really good turnaround. Good signs for the Cats.
mm,
And yeah, like the frustrations didn't last long when Paddy put that goal through, and we get to think about it a bit more on the way home. And overall, I was still pretty happy with how the Cats performed. Like as games are, there's always things that could be improved. But I think again, the same thing for the
mm,
Cats is just tidying up a bit of the inside 50 entries and kicking goals. Like there was a lot of goals that the Cats should have kicked, but are either a bit wayward or just didn't connect with the ball properly when they were going through the kicking action.
mm.
Overall, happy Cats fan, but still knows that a lot to fix for there's a fair few things to fix for the Cats before they're at their tip top best.
Yeah, absolutely. Just run through some of the major stats. The goal kickers for the Geelong, Ollie Dempsey, 3 goals, one in a breakout performance. We're going to get to him
Oh,
in more detail in the Patreon player focus. So if you want to hear that part of the show, make sure you go on over and subscribe to the Hoops Crew Patreon. You can get a 7-day free trial. After that, you can upgrade $5 or $6 a month, gets you access to extended shows, it gets you access to VFL men's and women's coverage throughout the season, early access to Paul's interviews on Behind the Play, etc. We do a Wednesday news show every Wednesday as well, just for the Patreon subscribers. We did put the first edition of that on YouTube for everyone. So yeah, if you want to go with us behind the subscriber curtain at the end of this show. That's how you can do it. Go on over to the Hoops Crew and sign up there. So Ollie Dempsey, 3 goals, one. Jeremy Cameron, 2 goals, three. Ollie Henry, 1 goal, two. And there are a few other single goal kickers for the Cats. It was Membry, 3 goals, one for the Saints. Max King, 2 goals, four. And Wilson, 2 goals, one for the
I'm
Saints.
sorry.
And in the disposals, Dangerfield 25, Holmes, and Duncan with 23 each. While for the Saints, it was Riley Bonner with 28. I think it's Riley. Wanganeen Millero with 25 and Steele with 25. So those are sort of the main stats winners. Johnny, the I thought it was a resilient sort of performance from the Cats because
Yeah.
Ross Lyon coached sides. They wear you down and grind you down. There's been a lot of talk, by people, oh, he makes it so hard for the opposition. And to me, his sides have never had a particularly high ceiling. They're the dark alley team. They want to drag you into a dark alley behind the dumpster and beat you up, with a sledgehammer sort of thing. That's their only way. So if you go in forewarned and forearmed, you know, you throw the flashbang down and you surprise the team with the sledgehammer and you take them to task. And I thought in key moments, Geelong probably their class showed through. Obviously the Dangerfield moment, comes to mind, but uh, the Saints really wanted to ugly it up, and Geelong just had to stay focused. We were impressed that the Cats were able to stay resilient, not sort of, the crowd where we were definitely frustrated. We were frustrated, standing
Yeah.
room in the Selwood stand, but the team stayed with it. They stuck to the process. I thought they really did well not to get drawn in, and lose their heads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Like it was good to see that the Cats didn't, yeah, as you said, lose their heads. They stayed focused. They stayed on it. Even when the Saints were on the charge in that last few minutes, the Cats were able to find a way to get that win. And I was thinking today is
Mm,
it was those moments last year where the Cats were ahead, or the opposition got a bit of a run on, and the Cats just couldn't stop them before it was too late. And they did round one against
mm,
the Saints, which they weren't able to do last year in the 23rd or 22nd round. So that was
mm,
really impressive to see, especially with young guys in the team as well, like Jai Clark, Tano Bruin, Oliver Dempsey, Mana. Who else is
mm.
in that midfield? Yeah, those guys. Like,
We
I
had
mean,
Atkins, not a young guy, but,
no,
Atkins I thought played really well.
he did. And it was, yeah, it was really pleasing to see the young guys step up and take control and not just have the senior guys, do have to do everything except for like some really key important stuff that, what the senior guys can do. We all know what the stars can do, and
Mm,
Dangerfield and Cameron both pulled out fantastic, sensational goals when it mattered. So did Tom Hawkins, but I still think the majority of
mm,
the hard work, the damn gritty stuff, was done by a lot of the young guys, and they really kept the team going forward and pushing them along. And it's good to see. It's really pleasing the thing to see that the Cats did stand up, did get that momentum back in their favour when it really mattered. When last year they may have not been able to find that energy to get the next push. So I think the young guys have
mm,
really ramped that energy up, put a bit of competition, and tell you what's going to be hard to crack into the top 22.
mm. Yeah, definitely. We discussed it at the time. I think in one of the quarter time breaks or at halftime, we said, God, just feels like they're not getting it inside 50 that much. The Saints averaged 11 inside 50s per quarter. They had 44 for the match. Cats averaged a tick over 15 per quarter. They had 63. Geelong 49.2% efficiency inside 50. The Saints 63.6. It was just the Saints did such a good job of scoring from what limited sort of entries they had. It's not like they had, 25 entries. They did have 44, which is still, a fair share, but it was just like the Cats just had to keep holding their nerve, the
Mm,
way I saw it. Just keep committed to doing what we were doing, and eventually a thing that I sort of thought told when we were on the charge in the 4th quarter and even at times in the 3rd was probably applying a little bit more pressure, um, on the Saints, not letting them pick their way. I feel like in the first half, and I could be wrong, but this is how my memory serves me, is that first half, the Saints had a lot of times where they were able to pick their way with a few kicks to just outside or on the edge of defensive 50. Then find someone who could launch the attack over the top. The forwards would run hard to get
yeah.
goal side of Geelong's defenders. The ball would just be put long to space, and they were in behind. Whereas I felt like the way Geelong was able to get on top of the Saints in some of those crucial moments in the second half, and particularly the last quarter, was they made that long kick from the Saints come from deeper in the Saints territory. I don't know how the numbers broke down, but I feel like we had a lot more chances to intercept. Um, at least they stick in my mind a lot more in the second half and in that um, 4th quarter, where the
Mhm.
Saints were suddenly being forced long down the line. Geelong was able to turn it over and maintain that forward half pressure. Um,
Oh, excuse me.
I thought
Yeah, that, yeah,
Jai,
good, good.
yeah, you go.
You go. You go. You go.
Jai Clark is a player I think who, like, his his stats probably won't tell an insane story. Like I think he had 13 touches. There's probably like a good 30 players ahead of him. If you look at this, not 30, but 20, 25, something like that. Players who had more disposals than him in the game, but you know, and even it's so funny. It's disarming. He had one tackle, two clearances, 13 disposals. So you look at it on paper and go, geez, he didn't really have, a big game. But then
Mhm.
I thought in crucial moments, he was the one. He did have 21 pressure acts, which was the third most for the Cats. Um, I just thought it was those things that really that were his strengths, and it did add another player like from the side last year, where it was like Atkins doing a lot of desperate work, and then Dangerfield when he was able. Having a guy like Jai Clark, even if he's not winning a mountain of the footy yet, to just do those desperate acts, to throw himself,
Yeah.
full stretch to try and block kicks, was pretty impressive from a dude playing, his second game?
Well, technically, first game, really. He only played 20 minutes his
First start, yeah.
first that game. So, yeah, that's what I had to remind myself of just today. It's like thinking, oh, he didn't have a great game, sort of was thinking he could have done a bit more. And then I realized he's only played 20 minutes of one AFL game where he injured
Mm,
himself and was out for the rest of the season. So, yeah, for him to come in and continue to put his body on the line like he did and, get a fine on his first game for rough conduct. Yes, I think he's definitely did some really good stuff and, watching some of the highlights and of the game highlights, you just really see what he was able to do that may have missed on the ground in the standing area. But yeah, I thought the same as you. Like he put a lot into this game. He put his body on the line, went charging head first, full pelt at the ball each time. So there's no doubt that he's courageous, willing to get the ball, willing to win it.
mm,
It's just that next stage of getting there and being able to win the ball and impact a little bit more. But in terms of getting a base going for yourself and getting that to that next level, so he's going to be pretty impressive. And also just getting that frame built up a bit stronger. So when you do get in there,
mm.
you're not going to get muscled off it yourself or get knocked over quite as easily as you might at the moment. So in a few years, he will be pretty unstoppable if he's continues to be able to bulldoze his way through other players and get that ball and be another like
Mm.
Patrick Dangerfield type player. Just a guy who gets in there,
What
grabs it, and runs.
what did you think of, Tanner Bruin's game? 20 touches, 8 tackles, 6 clearances, 65% time on ground.
Yeah, pretty impressive. I thought he did well. Still a few things to tidy up and clean up in terms of like disposals and disposal efficiency and whatnot. But overall, yeah, can't really complain with those numbers. And same as Jai Clark, it's only a matter of time each before he gets better and better at every aspect of the game and continue to build on what he's learned at the Cats and will continue to learn at the Cats with the likes of Dangerfield, Atkins, Stewie. There's a lot of
Mm,
plenty of players he can learn from. So and especially Cameron as well. So yeah, I think again, really positive game, heading in the right direction, and he's young and he's getting these numbers at his age. Really impressed with how he went around and really looking forward to seeing how he and Clark do work together because they've worked. They said they've been doing a lot of pre-season working together to try and work out what each other can do and what their strengths will be together.
mm.
So I think them two are going to build a really strong, positive unit, and they're going to be around for ages, which is really positive as well because they're both so young.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that was, one of the nice sort of factors about Geelong's win was that there was a mix of contributors. a player who I think we've spent the off season going, oh God, I don't know, how we'll go. Comes out and has one of their games in recent memories. 9 marks, 5 tackles. I think he led the game, or at least the team, for intercept possessions. Had a goal assist, 343 meters gained. He was pretty immense on a day where you probably had a guy like Sam DeConing probably struggled a little bit.
Yep.
Um, Colin Jasny played really well. Um, and definitely spit in the face of my, preseason thoughts that he might be on the slide. But it is round one. But you've got to take your hat off and give credit where credit's due. College was definitely one of our better players on the
Yeah,
night.
definitely.
You, you had you guys like Blixarves, Danger, the experienced
Nobody
contributors.
expect.
Yeah, they were doing that, but then, you had these efforts from the guys on the edge. We've talked about Jai Clark, we've talked about Tanner Bruin. Um, Ollie Henry probably had to, really push through a night that was tough for him, but he kept at it, which I thought was really admirable.
Yep.
But the other guy I wanted to throw to you to talk about, Johnny, was Max Holmes. Holmes has 23 touches, 10 marks, 3 tackles, 686 meters gained. And to go with that, he led the team with 95.7% disposal efficiency. And if you kick that over to just what he did by foot, 92.9% kicking efficiency, which was the most on ground for the team as well. So, what were your thoughts about Max Holmes? What did you like? Did you see some
Oh,
improvement from what he was doing preseason to now?
um, not. I don't think much in preseason. Not much improvement, but I don't think he needed to improve much from the preseason because he came into that preseason really looking sharp and played those two preseason games really well, and you sort of got that sense that he was building to something special this year and getting that confidence and his strength right up there, and then his game was just sensational. Like what a way to start your year with a performance like that. I do feel like he wanted to get on the run a bit more often than what he was able to against the Saints, but they also were able to really lock the Cats down, sort of not let him run or move the ball as freely as they would have liked to, which is a credit to the Saints. But
Mm.
overall, yeah, it's a solid first game. And if this is just a taste of Max Holmes in 2024, I'm bloody excited to see what he can do, especially when he does get those chances just to go, stuff this, I'm going to run. Because he's quick and
Mm.
he's very well controlled with his running. And, if he was able to run a little bit and his disposal efficiency was at 95%, if that drops 10%, that's still high efficiency at going at full pelt inside 50.
Mm.
It's going to be hard for opposition defenders. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do throughout this year. And I feel like he's going to become one of those players that will be looked at by opposition going, we need to stop this guy because he will tear
Mm.
a path through any ground, any team. So yeah, can't wait to see what he can do because he's had a pretty fantastic start.
Yeah, I think, like, we've always known that he's got this capability to be like an explosive game-changing player. I mean, people have compared him to Chris Judd, and I think that was
Yeah,
Dangerfield compared him
that was
to a young
Dangerfield.
Chris Judd, and yeah, which is like pretty high praise. But and we've spoken about on the pod, only a couple of episodes ago. Like, he's probably the most out and out athletically, footy skilled, talented player. Like the whole package, you look at it on
Mm,
Geelong's list in terms of like the younger demographic of the list. So we're just sort of saying whatever the contract needs to be, just get it done. He's
just
different. This isn't like when we're trying to negotiate with Jordan Clark and stuff like that. This is a difference making cat, and we need to
yep,
lock him up. I was
yep,
impressed with the improvement in his kicking efficiency because that was something. Not so much in the preseason game against Essendon, but in the match sim, he really did
Oh
butcher it a
yeah,
few times coming
yes,
from
it,
down back, and we were a bit worried, and there was a bit of worry on social media about how, how's he going to clean it up, etc. Well, it looks like he has cleaned it up a lot. It looks like, it's all starting to make a bit more sense to him playing, out of defense a bit more and that sort of thing on off half back, etc. So I don't think we can expect for him to be up at that, 95% total and 92% by foot every week. But like you said, even if you dock 10% off that, even if you dock 15%, like that's still a really nice spot to be. Um, if he averages 70+% by foot this year, I mean that's an outrageous improvement. I think his previous best 62% or something off the top of my
yeah,
head.
something
So
like that.
anything 70 plus is exceptional. Um,
Definitely.
let's talk about the captain. Let's talk
Oh
about it.
yes,
Um,
the
Patrick
moment.
Dangerfield. Yeah, the moment. I'll give the
Yep.
stats and then you can give the sort of thoughts on the performance as a total. He had 25 touches, 6 tackles, 8 clearances. So he had the second most tackles for the Cats and the most clearances. He gained 579 meters, obviously kicked that goal. To go with that, he also had the most pressure acts by the Cats, equal most with Tom Atkins, 23. I don't know about you. It was funny watching the replay of the goal back because at the ground, I think as soon as he kicked it, I went straight through the middle, boys, straight through the
Yep.
middle. And then when I watched the replay, I didn't realize how close it was not to being straight down the middle. Um, what were your thoughts on Danger's game and obviously, backing
Uh,
himself in the big moment?
it was it was one of those. It was a captain's game, is what it was, and he knew how important this game was for Geelong, the fans, Selwood, and everyone involved in this club. It was like there was no way in his mind was he leading the Cats drop this one. I reckon because it was a big moment for the Cats. Huge moment, opening the Joel Selwood stand, legend of the club, best cat to ever play in the hoops. So yeah, it was a massive night. And I was thinking today it was one of those captain's moments, that goal that I feel like he didn't get in his first year as captain last year. There was no moment where you go, oh yeah, that's a moment where we needed Dangerfield to stand up and deliver a victory or do something incredibly special to get the Cats motivated and going over the line. But he did that most of the night on Saturday night, and then I think when he took that mark, I think it was another one where he had a shot at goal. And we are talking to you guys going, "Oh shit, it's Dangerfield. He's gonna miss this one because he'll try too hard and he'll miss it." And then when he took this mark and he went back, took his 30 seconds, I just thought in my mind, he's got this. There's no way he's missing this. And sort of as soon as he kicked it and we saw it go, like as he set straight through, we went a bit nuts and the crowd went nuts. It was a massive cheer. I just think that's
Mm,
a moment he never got last year in his first year as captain. Was that moment to do something special for the Cats fans, for the club, and lift the
mm,
team up right when we needed it. And he got it round one. And it was, yeah, I really enjoyed watching a replay of it as well. And just seeing him not celebrate,
mm,
not get overexcited, just go, there's still time. There's still 30 seconds on that clock. Let's not get carried away.
mm.
So I just felt like, yeah, that was a massive moment for Patrick Dangerfield and his captaincy, but also for the whole club. And one that I think
Yeah.
will help drive Dangerfield forward this year as captain.
Yeah, I think you're so right. Like you've hit on a really good point there that, because people, might listen and say, well, Danger's done heaps of stuff. He's amazing in the 2023 grand final. And it's like, yeah, but none of that was as captain. And
Mm.
as right or wrong as it is, the headlines after that game, if Danger goes back and shanks that through for behind, the Saints sweep it up the other end and win, then all the headlines are going to be, Danger fails to deliver.
Yep.
the captain took it upon himself, could have centered it, could have just put it up top of the square, tried to allow the Cats to lock it in. It would have all been about that. And so I think in many ways, Johnny, that moment sort of typifies what Danger's captaincy has all been about. We talked about this going into him being named captain of I think we were fair advocates of Tom Stewart as
Yep.
captain. But we wondered whether it was a big shoes to fill after Selwood left and whether Stewie would have been the right guy to immediately take over or whether there would have been so much pressure. How would he have dealt as captain with what happened last year versus Danger? Like, we just feel like Danger's got this rock solid sense of self and identity and who he is and his place in the game. And that's what I feel like that kick kind of signified in a way is I'm going to go back, put it on my shoulders to win it. If we don't, well, I'm going to have to answer all these questions in the media, but that's a risk I'm prepared to take because that's what my captaincy is going to be about. I'm not scared of stepping into Selwood's legacy, literally playing beneath the shadow of the great man in the stand. Now, this
Yep.
thought came to me a few times in the night, particularly when the Saints were on the run. I'm like, Jesus, if we lose this game, it's like the shadow of the Selwood era is now literally structurally looking over this team. So I think that was a massive thing for Danger to go
Yep.
back. We might not think of it much. It's a round one game, but I think it was huge for him. And
Yep.
I'm super impressed with it because it takes um, you know, watermelon-sized onions to put that on yourself and go back and take that kick, and to deliver. And it was exactly what they needed to stem that tide. They won the resulting clearance, and Sean Manor nearly had his first AFL goal. The Saints had to rush it through from behind, but yeah, no, it was a massive moment. And that's a good segue, Johnny, to let everyone know that Patrick Dangerfield was who we at the Hoops crew voted as our most valuable player of the game. He got all the votes
Yep.
for the Hoopies. Dangerfield had 14 votes. He was followed by Ollie Dempsey, who we're about to talk about in the Patreon player focus. He had 9. Max Holmes got 3. Jeremy Cameron with 2. Tanner Bruin with 1. And Tom Stewart with 1. So a fitting honour for El Capitan,
Oh,
who
it was
fittingly
it was
buried the sword.
difficult to go past Dangerfield as MVP. I think it was just
Yeah.
as I said, it was a massive moment for the Cats, massive game for the Cats, and I feel like
Mm,
Dangerfield was like, I'm not letting this one slip, and it would
mm,
have been massive pressure on himself. Yeah, I reckon he would have put massive pressure on himself to perform, to go, Joel's here, he's just opened the stand. You don't want to lead off with a disappointing loss. And thankfully, all the
mm,
Cats rallied at the right time each time. And yeah, as you said, Dangerfield went back and made that captain's moment his. And it was a great moment. And that crowd,
absolutely.
when he slotted that goal,
Mm,
I think my ears were still a bit blocked Sunday at work after that game in the standing area. That was loud
mm.
and lost my voice.
It was
Still recovering.
it's definitely like among the loudest cheers I've ever heard, definitely, and the longest.
Yep.
You listen to
Yeah.
you go and watch the replay, which I've only done about 4,000 times, and the cheer goes up, and the cheer just continues. It continues, and then it morphs into the Geelong chant or whatever, and
Yep.
like it's this wall of noise. There was a standing ovation. I feel like at one point it was
Yep.
just nonstop noise when that ball went through, and what a
It
way
was.
to christen the new ground, the new
Yep.
stand. It was very fitting.
I felt like everyone knew what that goal meant and just was like, "Yes,
Mm,
well done." Imagine if Sean Manor
all
would
right.
kick that goal. What
That
a
would
way to
the
announce
place would have
yourself.
gone nuts for a different reason, but
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, it was like I said, fair play to him. That was a great block by that,
Oh,
Saints
yeah.
defender. timed
I
his
was thinking
jump just the right time to get his hands up.
it was it felt like it was meant to be Dangerfield's. Manor had a chance to get
Mm.
it, did everything right. The Saints player, as you said, just got in the way at the right time, and then Dangerfield was at the end of the rushed Saints kick. So it was all meant to be for Dangerfield. And then even Manor at
And
the end of the
Jesus,
game
it
could have got that goal, but just wasn't
mm.
able to.
Yeah, I was going to say the quick relieving kick from St Kilda. The amount of times on Saturday night that they just hacked one out and it fell straight to their player and they were able
Yeah,
to count. I was just, there's a universe where that falls straight into the lap of one of their halfbacks and away they go for the win. But no, so good for Danger to be there, intercept it, go
yeah.
back, kick the goal, and seal up a valuable
Put his
4
body
points.
on
I
the
think we
line as
discussed
well.
it on. Yeah, absolutely. We talked about it with Sam on the way out of the ground. We said, gritty win and, ugly win. And we sort of talked about, well, you walk away feeling very differently if the Cats lose that one by a couple of points. But as Sambo pointed out, they're good ones to win. They're all good
Oh
ones
yeah,
to win, but especially the ones where it's like, oh, we almost gave it away, but we found a way to get back on top and get the job done. A lovely way
it
to
was
bank 4
those
points, a lovely way to start the season.
yeah, and it was those gritty games that the Cats were more or less losing last year, but they couldn't outgrit
Mm,
the opposition. So a good way to outgrit them round one, especially against the Saints, and deny
mm.
them a victory at the Cardinia Park since 1999.
Yep, love it. All right, yeah, and we don't have to listen to old Ross the boss go on and on in his presser. Beautiful stuff.
No,
All right, that's it. That's done for the public part of the show. We are going to duck over to Patreon now and have a chat about Ollie Dempsey, who was absolutely dazzling on Saturday night. He had 3 goals. He set another 2 up. So he had a hand in 50% of Geelong's goals on the night. We're going to go over and talk all about him. So if you want to see that part of the show, if you want to listen to that part of the show, go on over and sign up for a 7-day free trial on the Hoops Crew Patreon. As I said, 7 days free access. After that, you can tick over to the $5 tier or the $6 tier and get access to extended shows, early access content to things like Paul's Behind the Play interview series, VFL men's and women's coverage, the Wednesday news show, all of that good stuff. So yeah, if you want to do that,
yes,
go on over. We'd love for you to do that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow the podcast. But thanks so much, Cats fans. Until next time, go Cats.
go Cats!